Okay, in the car right now, and you're talking about how women live longer because they menstruate, which allows them to flush out excess iron in the blood. Would giving yourself or inducing a bloody nose or donating blood once a month give you similar effects?
Donating blood once a month would give you similar effects, but you're donating more blood than is optimal, so it's ultimately going to tank your metabolism slightly. So what seems more optimal is really, I'd say, doing an honest assessment and talking to your physician about what amount of blood would be the best if you have high iron, which can be determined with various tests. So there's that. I think there are other ways of detoxing iron as well through a functioning metabolism. They say green tea doesn't work, but I think green tea works very well from my own personal experience. Black tea has been confirmed to work, so it kind of tells you that green tea should work. But basically, binders will work as well, cyclic keto. There's a lot of things you can do to encourage the detox of iron that I would encourage everyone to experiment with. I think bloodletting is a way to detox iron. I think ultimately bloodletting was preferred as a way of detoxing iron in medieval times, simply because in a metabolically healthy society that basically doesn't understand any of this stuff, but exercises all the time and seems to be at least decently harmonious with their biology and the seasons, the most common problem that they would likely run into would be metabolic issues as a result of excess and or various specific lifestyle stresses.
So I'm not 100% sure on the timing of this technology-wise, but wouldn't bloodletting coincide, or the rise of bloodletting?
Yeah, just ask me questions
steel?
randomly to keep me on topic, and I'll just rant. Okay, go.
With the increased use of cast iron or steel for piping and within industry,
would that have decreased the necessity for bloodletting?
Or would that have caused the rise in bloodletting as medicine?
Steel was only really able to be produced. Was steel iron piping? I don't know so much about medieval piping and medieval running water. I don't think they had running water until the Renaissance, ultimately. I don't know. That's actually an amazing point, and I'll look into that. And, yeah, we'll make note to look into that, because that's definitely something that would be informative. I think what it really had to do with is the recognition that red meat, they always say red meat's the food of royalty. Oh, red meat's for rich people. This whole association of red meat with the wealthy that you get way too much in Orthodox cultures and Catholic cultures and cultures that are essentially medieval in their formation. So that basically comes from the fact that red meat is basically the most health-containing food and life-containing food that you can eat, that provided you have the metabolic and digestive capacity to break it down and use it, is going to make you stronger and healthier than anything else. I mean, this is like the primo food of athletes for all time. I mean, Shakespeare even says in Henry VIII, I believe, feed them steak and train them with iron, and they will eat like wolves and fight like demons. And it's just basically the knowledge of give people red meat and make them work hard physically, and provided they have a base level of health, which was common in the Middle Ages because the absence of poisoning the food, decreasing enzymes in the food due to pasteurization and other processes, and storing the food to the point where it becomes excessively moldy. They're a little more fermenting the food so that it actually is probiotic and contains less lectins, and less prevalence of heavy metals utilized, though there was some utilization of mercury and stuff, which is really silly. That I think may have been, it's this idea of hormesis that gets developed that I think has merit, but ultimately needs to be understood in context. But basically, if you have a society of people who are all raised on their mother's breast milk, whose mothers were raised on their mother's breast milk, who are drinking unpasteurized milk and eating food from the land that's basically organically raised by our standards today, fed with raised in cow manure, healthy gut microbiomes, never been wiped out due to antibiotics. I mean, yeah, sure, you could die of an infection or whatever, But I mean, that's a little less likely because your own microbiome would fight it off. So people who died of infection were really people who were quote-unquote sickly, which just means we don't understand what's wrong with you, i.e. you have a low metabolism, and now that you have a low metabolism, due to just shit luck of the draw, I guess, because, again, you just got the wrong end of the fluctuating conditions that are creating our society, you're just going to die now because we don't actually know what produces health. And we'll just keep
even
giving
nowadays we don't. Like, my friend got a blood test, and they're asking me, it's like a CFR or something, but it's like some liver function. And I looked up, how do you improve it? Because their scores are a little low.
No
and
fucking
it's like,
idea.
Don't eat too much salt.
No
drink
idea.
plenty of water. Exercise. Don't eat processed foods. And I'm like, okay. I just told my friend, like, they have no idea what to do. You should probably just work out a little bit more and
Again,
increase your salt consumption and your water consumption.
Again, why work out more? Well, working out more increases your metabolism. Salt consumption supports metabolism through a whole bunch of cellular functions and just neuronal signaling. You need salt because of the voltage-gated sodium channels that are opened every single time a neuron fires an action potential, and neurons are all your nerve cells and brain cells, which is why Sleep Minerals has salt in it. Fun fact. I'm really proud of this thing. I'm not going to talk about it too much, because I want to keep my rant going. But anywho, though, basically, okay, here's some facts about salt. So salt, I didn't consume salt my junior year of high school. I consumed like maybe twice the American Heart Association's recommended dose of salt. And that completely tanked my metabolism, tanked my nerve function. My brain function went to the toilet. I had cramps constantly. I had erectile dysfunction for a year. I pooped blood. My digestive system shut down. And I peed blood. And upon peeing and pooping blood, I just said, F it. I completely give up, and I just went to a burrito restaurant to just eat a bunch of burritos because I'm like, well, if I'm going to die anyway, I might as well just eat some burritos. And at that point, I actually ended up stop peeing blood for the first time in 3 days, and I was like, holy cow, it's a miracle. Processed food saved my life. Ate processed food for the next 3 days, and then I started to reflect, why did processed food make my body, it made my body improve a bit, but I'm like, I'm smart. Like, processed food isn't helping me, obviously. I mean, there's something in this that's helping me. It's not the effing sodium dicalcium phosphate or whatever.
That's where I should have been dead 3 years ago based on my salt consumption, but my body craves it. I love it. I have videos.
No, actually, all of our society should have been dead 50 years ago based on their salt consumption, and they're just not, because they constantly take all these weird blood pressure medications to manage the issues that we used to just manage with salt. Which is why Romans were paid in salt. Salt's been considered a health food for the longest time. It's bizarre that salt's considered unhealthy, but here's the kicker. This is actually what the whole thing is, so let me explain. Here we go. Bum, bum, bum. So I ended up figuring that what helped me out was the carbohydrates, because at the time I was on a ketogenic diet, and ketosis ends up increasing your need for sodium, because when you don't have any blood sugar, your kidneys stop retaining electrolytes, including salt. They're actually retaining them at a lower rate, because it's actually insulin that triggers the retention of electrolytes. So one reason that ketosis is so effective for people who have insulin resistance or diabetes is that they don't have to worry about their electrolyte function, because their insulin function is so effed that when they consume zero carbs, they still have almost perfect electrolyte function with minimal salt and electrolyte consumption, simply because, not that this couldn't be helped in some cases with magnesium, zinc, salt, and calcium, these other things, because those things can promote detox, help metabolism, and help these things, especially if your electrolytes are really, really, really low in the beginning. But in general, because of their diminished receptivity to insulin, I can't, because it's just the rate at which my brain thinks. If I slow it down, I just slow the thoughts down, then I'll have fewer thoughts, and then it's just not the thing anymore.
More easily articulate the syllables.
Okay.
So that they can put this on 0.75 speed and actually understand what they're saying.
Okay, so basically, I'll try to slow it down. I might be able to slow it down a bit. So basically, high insulin, if your body is insensitive, okay, let me put it this way, if your body produces too much insulin, you won't really have electrolyte issues, because that insulin will trigger your kidneys to retain electrolytes. If you're not really producing insulin, you will have electrolyte issues, because, again, it's insulin in the kidneys.
What about people who, one thing I heard is the craving for sugar can be mistaken with the craving for salt. So when people get a sweet tooth late at night,
that's basically exactly.
They eat, and first of all, eating late at night.
No, it's the opposite.
Spiking your blood sugar.
Needing salt can often be mistaken for sugar, but I wouldn't even tell people that for the.
So needing salt can be mistaken as sugar.
Yeah, it can, but I would just say that mostly applies if you have a well thought out dietary program.
Right, so what I mean is, if you're craving sugar or something sugary,
No.
you could.
No. So basically, this is what I said. If you have a really well thought out diet.
Well, I believed it, so it worked.
No, because you had a well thought out diet. So you were on a good diet. You're on a ketogenic diet, and then you're craving sugar, and then you're like, oh no, I actually just need salt, which was the case, and you took the salt and it was fine. Other people, but that's because you were on a well thought out diet. Let's say you're Susie Q and you go to McDonald's every second Tuesday, and then like you live off, like, I don't know, like let's just say you live on energy drinks, donuts, hot girl pills, antidepressants, anti-anxiety pills, and just whatever. Like literally, like you have no diet, you just eat whatever. You eat a salad every now and again, or a leaf or a carrot, and you tell yourself that it's healthy. You have something that approximates, well, I eat the unhealthy food, then I balance it with the healthy food, or anything that basically consists of you have not gone through your life, health, metabolism, and nutrition and made sure that every single thing you're putting in your body has its place in your body. If you have not done that, then you should just go do that. Because thinking that craving sugar means that you need salt, like, who knows? Maybe you're going through psychosis because you haven't eaten in a month and you're on meth. You know what I mean? Like literally, like, that's the thing. Like, who knows? Mistaken
because they both are responsible for.
You need context. Context is necessary before any recommendations. So you want to sit down and think through, what am I eating? Yes, and why?
My thing
how's it working out?
Was the video I watched talked about how the two signals could get mistaken because they're both responsible for increasing the blood pressure. So what you're really hearing is your body has low blood pressure and it wants it to increase, which can be done through increasing the blood sugar or increasing the blood salt.
Yes, I agree, but also I've just found that, like, that's only really helpful advice if I'm giving it to someone in the context of their diet. Because if that same person is also just drinking like 8 energy drinks a day and they don't know why their body is doing weird things and they crave sugar at 4 a.m., there's other things I can tell them that are likely better and more immediate. Like, it's the 80-20 principle. This is basically the idea. It's the 80-20 principle. So there's a million things I can say to you that are true and helpful. There's actually an infinite number of things I can say to you that are true and helpful. But what is... According to the 80-20 principle, there's only going to be one thing, really, that's going to have the most benefit for you. Maybe a handful of things, maybe 3 things that work synergistically that'll have the most benefit for you. So I'll just use myself as an example because that's really the best thing we can do. So let's say my junior year of high school when I was in that state. So I would say to myself, okay, Devin, you're experiencing 3 things primarily. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. Your gut health is effed. And I noticed that at the time. I was eating tons of probiotics, like yogurt. I was eating tons of yogurt. So my gut's messed up. And I was like, well, I need to detox probably too. So I was drinking spring water. And I was like, well, I need to sleep more. So I was trying to sleep more. And I was like, well, to sleep more, I need to get off my phone and stop looking at blue light. And all those things were completely true, but absolutely none of them helped even a little bit because none of them had any relevance to the biochemical issues that were going on in my body. What was going on in my body is that my body was experiencing metabolic failure that was leading to a whole bunch of detoxification issues, autoimmunity issues, gut dysbiosis issues, mental health issues, insomnia, and all that, and hormonal issues, and all that stuff was working together to make my stress levels through the roof and make everything worse. And that made my life worse. It made me more stressed out, which made everything worse. It's just this whole thing. So it's like, what ultimately brought me out of it? I'll just tell you what ultimately brought me out of it. Because it wasn't, I tried everything. I literally just spent a year trying to fix that. Once I started having erectile dysfunction and feeling like shit all the time, I just started trying to fix it 24/7. And I tried everything. I call this the first 20 pages of Google. And this is when people start talking to me, they start recommending things to me when they hear that I've had sleep problems or health problems, and I call it, they recommend to me the first 20 pages of Google. And what I mean is, they're not telling me anything that I couldn't find.
It's an answer ChatGPT is going to give you.
No, it's conventional wisdom. The things that have helped, but the things that have helped me are like weird things that I just had an impulse to try based off of things people said on a Reddit forum 4 years ago, and recommendations for, like, it's like it's the esoteric stuff. It's thinking like, why did medieval peasants have like literally, like, that's why I think about these things, like why, like, the habits of medieval peasants, because I'm like, I have to take this thing back to the last time that we had a singular diet that worked for everyone within an ethnic population. That's why I've studied this stuff, because I'm just like, everything that anyone can possibly tell me now, any doctor, any specialist, any neurologist, any mystic or guru or person living on earth that I have tried to find cannot tell me anything that has helped me or helps me, because I've tried all that stuff, because I just tried. Like, I just went to everyone, I called the doctors, I just did all of that, and it didn't work. And I just arrived at a point where I was peeing blood for 3 days, and I was just like, and I've been pooping blood. I had coagulated blood in my stool for ages, which now I know is a symptom of it's a late sign of really bad salt deficiency. Women get it in pregnancy. They call it preeclampsia. I know this because it happened to my wife. I gave her salt, her symptoms went away. Another one of her friends, I think I have to talk to my wife about this, but I think she recommended this to her friends who were also pregnant at the time, and they took it and they went away. It's like literally preeclampsia is all the symptoms that I had when I was salt deficient that got worse and worse until I pissed blood. So our society doesn't know. Again, look up the symptoms of preeclampsia and pregnancy. I just tell you, look up the symptoms. It's like your veins get smaller, you're cold, you have like sweats, decreased metabolic function, issues with blood volume, stress, cramping. It's effing salt. But no one knows this. Again, so I always have this thing, I'll put this out there, but I'll get back to the question at hand. I'll put this out here. So I have this crazy idea. It's not crazy, it's the truth, but it sounds crazy because I literally feel like it's crazy. The only time I've actually really considered this idea seriously, and I've considered it more since then, is times I've been on mushrooms, my ego has died, and I've sat and thought about my life and been like, wow, why did no one know how to fix insomnia? I mean, I know insomnia is out there. I spent the last 5 years just only helping people with insomnia. I found hundreds of people with insomnia. It's just so out there. It's crazy. Everyone who I've helped with insomnia tells you they've been to 10 or 20 doctors and that no one has said anything that made any sense to them, that the information I've given them is the only thing that helps, and that I have tons of other people who have also told me that the information I've given them is the only thing that helps, and they have tons of other what I call metabolic adjacent issues, that I've even coined that term based on the understanding that I've developed through this process of insomnia. If you want to know all this stuff, go check out my webinar. I love being able to say that, because now I can actually say, go check out my webinar where I explain all this, and I have people with this insomnia show up and they explain all this and how they've been to the doctors, now the doctors don't know anything. So you can see all of this. It's all there. It's all documented. You can see the last 10 years of what I've been doing in my life. And yeah, so I had this crazy idea that I'm the only person on planet Earth who actually knows how to fix this kind of insomnia or any of these adjacent issues, because I've never been able. The closest I found is Christopher Walker, who had to rehabilitate his hormonal system due to a tumor on his pituitary gland. But I basically think that no one knows how to solve any of these issues, because if you have any of these issues, especially the insomnia, your brain stops working, you develop metabolic issues, and then you just die. And the only reason I'm alive is because I basically have a very loving family who's provided me with all the money and resources I needed to rehabilitate myself, and has taken care of me for the periods of time that I've been an invalid with insomnia, so that I've actually been able to like survive in this world and like figure out how to fix this thing, and then coach it for years to refine that, to actually get it to a point where I can release a webinar that explains exactly what this is. So this crazy idea that I'm the only one who knows how to fix this, because I am, because again, like, how would anyone know how to fix it unless you had this problem and the resources to fix it, which is kind of insane, because like, I don't even know how I fixed it really. And the internet, which just became a thing, and the food's been becoming more toxic, so the people I've been coaching have these issues earlier in life. So I might have even just been in this little window where I developed these issues in my teenage years, where I was smart enough and had enough time without health issues to the point where I could actually study the issues as I develop them. Whereas my wife's friend's 18-month-old son simply has tumors on his brain. They has to undergo a potentially life-threatening operation to have removed, because he was just born this way, because the progressive degeneration that I document, or not document, but talk about in another video called Pottinger's Cats, Why We're Sicker Than Our Parents and Grandparents on my YouTube channel. talks about how over time our epigenetics, enzyme count, and gut microbiome becomes depleted and corrupted, leading to this diminished health that we're experiencing, whereby people become sicker and sicker in proportion to the length of time that their families have lived in population dense areas consuming processed foods. So I'll just end that rant there and then go back to, what was the question?
Well, we're gonna end the video there.
No, keep going.
No. Why? Because
no, this is just getting good. Let's just keep going because we're articulating things that we can't. Like, what this video is going to be is it's going to be us communicating.
Yeah, but I want to put a point to this video.
No, but I don't know. The point will come in an hour of talking. Let's just keep going until we get there. No, we'll synthesize it. But no, Jason. Keep even this argument. Keep it in there because this Weak to Warrior contains within it a mission that I have not yet been able to articulate in one video. I can't. I don't know what it is. It's just this thing that drives me from my subconscious. And if we just talk about this and you ask me questions, what basically will happen is I'll rant, which will allow me to get into a flow state and access these feelings, and then you can sit there and tell me whenever I stop making sense, which is why I've been unable to articulate this so far. So we should just keep going, and then in 30 minutes, or 40 minutes, we'll be able to wrap this all up into one big point, and it'll be an amazing video that people will watch for years that we can put on the front pages of our channel. That it'll be a personality thing, it'll be a missions thing. We're just coming back from jiu-jitsu, guys. Like, I didn't even have a shirt on. I'm gonna put a shirt on because like I was actually planning on doing that, but my brother just whipped out the camera. But this is gonna be a whole thing. You know what I mean? This is gonna be like the first episode. Actually, this is what it is. This is the first episode of the Devin and Jason podcast. Sure. So fuck it. This is what it is. And I think we should just do it that way because I think that if your mission is so simple that it can be articulated in a video that you planned out, that you're either a lot more conscious and wise than me, or it's a very simple vision. So I don't know. Let's see how this goes. So ask me questions and I'll answer them, and we can see if we get anywhere with this. I can set up something to hold the thing if you're getting a pain in the butt holding the GoPro.
No, I'm good for now.
No, I like
so the original question was talking about iron deficiency and whether or not causing a nosebleed or inducing nosebleeds would help with longevity.
No, it's going to stress your body out, and the increased cortisol from punching yourself in the face is ultimately going to tank your metabolism, which will lead to increased iron retention, heavy metal retention.
But no one else
you'll look ugly, which will make
like
you'll look ugly, which will make you depressed, which is also bad for your metabolism. So I wouldn't recommend it.
But no other YouTube channel tackles the pressing questions of the day.
But keep it more on point. We're so ridiculous.
True.
No, it's true, but we're so ridiculous that we'll end up seeming silly without trying. So we don't.
The question's silly, but the points are valid. That's the
question's silly, but the points are valid. Okay. So, ask me another question about anything I said, and we can just see if we can synthesize this into a point. Like, try to find the things that don't make sense to you, so I can explain them. Because, like, yeah, I don't know. This doesn't really make sense to me either. I only really understand. I've come to this understanding as articulately as I have through health coaching people for years who experience similar issues and talking to them about this. And then I'm like, holy cow! Like, everyone's experiencing some version of this, and that's how I've.
If the food's poison, and it is, even Netflix has a freaking documentary talking about how the food's so clean nowadays, it doesn't have any of the enzymes or any of the bacteria that would be beneficial towards our gut. So you could go watch that. But if the food's that poisoned, how do you make sure you can get a healthy gut and you can maintain a healthy body? Which foods would you recommend? How would you source the food?
You got to be really skeptical. You got to start with the idea that the people giving you food and talking about health don't necessarily know what they're talking about. So my dad has cancer, and he's been going in for cancer treatments. I went with him to a few of the cancer treatments, and while he's literally having chemo shit, and I'm gonna try to swear less, but while he's having chemo stuff injected into his arms, so you can play this stuff around your kids. I'd love for you to be able to play this stuff, like family car rides, it'd be great. No, I have kids. Like, seriously, I don't want my kids swearing because it's embarrassing. So, like, I'd love it if people could play around their kids. And people will relate that parents will be like, how do I prevent my kids from swearing? I don't know. Hopefully parents think about that and it's not just me. But, I'm gonna swear a lot. So it's like, my daughter she's sworn. She's, like, dropped things. And she's been like, oh. I'm just like, April Grace, we don't say that word. So now when I say that, she goes, Daddy, don't say that word. And I'm like, yes, April Grace, you're so smart. She's like, I'm so smart. I'm like, yes, you are. And it's adorable because I love everything else. But anyway, so, what can you do? So you have to, so they were giving him, though, like, sandwiches with, like, soybean oil and stuff. I told the woman, I was like, you shouldn't be giving people with cancer seed oils. And she just says yes. And that's probably just because she's told to agree with all the family members because they're probably insane and stressed out, which is fair and whatever. I don't like it. I understand bedside manner. Okay, I could never do that. They
job. They also gave them a little goodie bag with like candy in it.
I've quit many therapy jobs because, like ABA therapy jobs, because I'm just unable to not tell people what I actually think.
What is ABA therapy?
Applied behavioral analysis.
And that means?
Yeah, I would just say it's learning broken down to its core components with the 80-20 principle applied at every level. It's a decent idea. I just think that with kids with autism, the main thing you should do is focus on...
It's helping teach kids with autism social skills and how to function.
And how to do anything that you need to do. It's very open-ended, so it's like if you... People with autism have open-ended dysfunction, so ABA is open-ended in its both approach and application. I actually am a fan of ABA. I think it's great. My issue is merely the companies that I worked for, that I'm not going to, like, name drop the companies, because it's simply, I'll just simply tell you this. Because I don't know, like, about the companies, and, like, I think people have a hard enough time, and I think ultimately, slinging poop on people on the internet is a bad thing. I mean, let's say I go talk badly about those companies I work for, but I don't even think badly about the companies at all. I mean, like, one of the companies actually very highly of. The other company, I mean, I don't know if that's just my experience. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, I just have my own life to run. So
back on topic.
No, this is on topic because I'm just conveying what people come on YouTube for, I believe, is to understand other people's approach to life. And that's what I want to help people convey. So people who are interested in this stuff will eventually have kids, and they'll think these things. And maybe their kids have autism, and they'll think these thoughts. And I'll just share all this stuff because I've encountered these things in my life, maybe they're relevant to other people in their life. So it's just, that's the whole point of a podcast, and, like, the open-endedness. That's why Joe Rogan's popular and stuff. So I would say any autism therapy that does not include 80% focus on diet, lifestyle, and environment, but primarily diet, if you haven't already done so. And I say this with an open heart because I spent the majority of my life with insomnia and health issues that I could not explain or figure out. Like, even 6 months ago in December, I was having really bad issues that were probably brought on by overworking myself and just stress, but I couldn't fix them with my normal methods, and now I drink a gallon of green tea every single day, and I have a whole thing behind that, but that basically allows me to keep my insomnia at bay, keep my gut function good. I have had solid poops for the last 6 months for the first time in 5 years, honestly, and for the first time consistently in my whole life. I've had diarrhea my whole life to the point where I just thought it was normal. I was like, yeah, if you diarrhea poops, you get normal poops. This is what it is. And people would be like, you have diarrhea? Yeah, I have diarrhea sometimes like once a week, once every month or so. And it's like, I don't know, I didn't realize, like, I talked to my dad, he's like, yeah, I've, like, haven't had diarrhea in, like, 40 years. And I'm like, what? Like, people just, like, don't have, like, I remember people are like, oh, you stay home from school if you have diarrhea. And I'm like, I just never took it seriously, because I'm just like, oh, yeah, right, maybe that's if you have, like, dysentery, you're pooping your brains out or something. But, like, I didn't really feel considered diarrhea an illness. Just fun fact, whatever.
Is that?
Yeah, it is, actually. You know, people consider it an issue. So if you have diarrhea on and off, like, that actually is an indication that you have a latent gut suboptimality that could develop later into, and will develop later if not addressed, into problems. Yeah, diarrhea. If you have diarrhea, that's an indication of something wrong.
Like, if you I don't have it, but when I was, like, doing keto and carnivore, at least the way I was trying it, it was like just what normality was.
I have now done carnivore. I've done cyclic carnivore for the last 6 months, and I've done carnivore for the last month, month-ish. I'm having a hard time remembering. At least 3 weeks, because I just had insomnia this month. But 3 weeks to a month, and I can tell you that I've had consistently solid poops, and it just comes through fasting, alternate fasting, consumption of chlorella as a binder, and green tea, which I do believe is due to the reason that diarrhea can be caused by the body trying to detox heavy metals through the gut, when various other pathways are inhibited for various reasons I can get into. It's just a complex and ends up turning this whole thing. And so I could turn everything I mentioned in this video into its own course or book, so I just try to keep things brief and give you an overarching idea that gives you an impression of the things that you should look into and understand before approaching these things. And at least that I've understood while approaching these things. I try to keep this YouTube channel documentary in nature so I don't get my channel removed for health recommendations. Not that I think that I will, because I'm not even doing anything remotely approximating.
I'm holding a GoPro. This is my channel.
It's kind of on my channel too, though. But so like, I'm not doing anything remotely approximating practicing medicine without license, and there's plenty of other videos that give far more direct health advice that isn't considered health advice. But I just think that it's important that I specify, like, I give people advice in the form of, like, don't poison yourself. I try to give, like, broad principles. I don't want to, like, tell people, like, say, everyone needs to go on the lion diet right now, because that's just not true. And I believe in the 80-20 principle. So that would be silly to just, because the 80-20 principle means that even if it's the right recommendation, it might not be the most right recommendation. So that would mean that I shouldn't give you that recommendation. So what I do is I tell stories and I share principles, and I do provide one-on-one coaching, and then I provide courses that contain explications of hundreds of scenarios that I and one-on-one clients and friends and family have found themselves in, that I have coached myself and them out of, and the principles underlying that when explicated have allowed other people to do the same thing. So it's not really medical advice. It's this other thing that's very useful and documentary in nature, if you get my drift. But anywho, so yeah, I've had solid poops, which is, like, honestly amazing, because I always thought that diarrhea was a component of carnivore. And even the Mongolians, at least from my research, I haven't been to Mongolia. My standard for research is that I go to Mongolia and talk to the people. Again, because when I tell you about people with insomnia or people with irritable bowel syndrome or people with any of the issues I talk about this as someone who has coached people with hormonal issues since he was 17 years old. And I'm 25 years old right now. I've been doing this for a very long time. This has largely been the focus of my life and career, and desire to live a normal or optimal life even without insomnia. So I don't know, but I've heard that people in Mongolia have chronic diarrhea and that they also follow a largely carnivorous diet from reputable sources, or seemingly reputable sources, often reputable sources. So I have to go confirm that. There could be a variety of reasons behind that, and that might be a suboptimality, recent development. I have to look into it. But what I can say is that I've been experiencing solid poops on carnivore with the addition of chlorella, fasting. I also take caffeine and Adderall, but I use them in to spike metabolism, which I talk about in other videos, which is a specific way of using them, which is, I use the Adderall also for brain function, which is what it's prescribed for, but it does have the function of spiking metabolism. So when I'm in an insomnia state and I take Adderall, often I become sleepy, so use what you can.
Talk to your doctor, not medical advice.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what works for us. But
and other people that we have worked with and talked to and know.
Yes.
But talk to your doctor, and we take no responsibility. Let me put it this way. I consider myself to be a very intelligent person who would never tell anyone any information that wouldn't be helpful. And my brother's the same way, and I believe that everything I'm sharing with you, all of you, is absolutely amazing, and that if all of you just totally joined my cult and became a cult, and we just, like, only did this stuff as, like, a religious practice, and, like, tried to, like, become the most economically and intellectually productive society that had ever lived and share all this information with the world, that we would usher in a second golden age, and that everyone should just totally do all these things and try them out because it's the best thing ever. But at the same time, if you just do stuff because a guy who said that on the internet told you to, you're a lunatic. So talk to your doctor, because whatever I believe about myself and others believe about me, talk to other people that you trust and have your own ways of verifying truth. Because if you don't, then you're just gonna have a really painful time in this world. And that's part of what this whole documentary YouTube channel is about. It's about me discovering my own ways of understanding myself and understanding what really worked for me in a way that's like, people have told me, oh my God, that salt consumption is insane. Oh my God, why are you drinking so much tea? Even my brother, oh my God, you took 45 milligrams of Adderall today and now you're drinking a gallon of green tea. And it's like, okay, yeah, but like I've been to a place where I didn't sleep for like over 30 days straight without a single wink of sleep. And before that, I was barely sleeping. And then after that, I was barely sleeping. And it was just this horrible, like, I know hell from like, I would say from both ends, but like I know hell plenty well. And I know places where you can go physically, where you go talk to your doctor about it, and he just gives you a look and asks you if you want painkillers. And there are no rules in that place. So if taking 45 milligrams of Adderall and then drinking a gallon of green tea before I go to jiu-jitsu, and then eating a stick of pepperoni and an entire block of cheese while I get unpasteurized milk for my daughter, and follow it up with a ribeye and nap, maybe some work, maybe a nap, maybe a walk, who knows, I'm listening to my body and doing what I think will maximize my chance of sleeping again tonight, because I'm still rehabbing myself from this effing insomnia episode I had last month, then yeah, like I did basically the same thing last morning, and I slept 7 hours last night. It was like some of the best sleep I've gotten this month, and I slept the night before. So yeah, it's freaking awesome. And if I start getting any like weirdness or chest tightness, I actually am a little bit, which is kind of normal because I took a lot of stimulus today. I just did some jiu-jitsu. You know what I'm doing? This is just the honest to God truth. I'm taking sleep minerals because I just made this into a supplement because I was sick of just capping it all the time. Because I take stimulants, and then you take stimulants, and you end up having all these cramps and issues. Right now, I didn't take stimulants until like I was like 19 or 20, because until then they just kill me basically, and that really inhibited my ability to rehab my metabolism. Because now I can use stimulants to rehab my Metabolism, and like go check out the Ray P forum if you want to see all this stuff. Ray P talks about this a lot. There's some crazy stuff in the Ray P forum, but basically, the reason people end up with issues with stimulants and largely alcohol, as well, is that it has a diuretic effect that depletes their electrolytes. And if you also just don't take electrolytes, you'll end up not sleeping too, and your body uses them to reduce stress. It's whatever. I talk about this all in other videos and stuff. Sleep minerals, I'm taking 2 of them right now, and I'm going to feel amazing. And since this is a long video, you're actually going to see, we have like 40 minutes before we even get to the milk place.
Oh, dude, my GoPro battery's not going to last that long.
But whatever. So hopefully you'll see this hitting me. You'll see my face relax and me slow down in my talking, despite the fact that I'm continuing to consume stimulants. Because it's not the stimulants, it's the metabolism, and the reason you become shaky and nuts is ultimately not a symptom of the caffeine, it's a symptom of your body no longer having the biochemical substrates that it both produces and consumes to support your metabolism at that rate, and thus your metabolism crashes, inducing these negative symptoms, which you can experience simply from insomnia. That's the other thing I realized about metabolism. I learned so much about metabolism because I had insomnia so much that if you don't sleep for like 5 days, your metabolism stops, which also stops your digestion, so all the food in your gut starts fermenting, producing crazy dysbiosis and nausea and all these issues. So it's interesting. Like, I don't know, insomnia was my gateway drug into dying, so I feel like I have a lot to say about people's symptoms of dying that seem to be common in this society, and often precipitate insomnia. So many people I talk to have sleep issues. So, sleep minerals, I'm taking it because I take a lot of stimulants and I don't want to have panic attacks all the time. So this is how I do that. I'll take water. I I'll drink more stimulants later. But ask me questions while I drink this.
Okay,
my consolation prize is that I live, so I get to like make this my way of life, which is actually pretty cool.
you never answered the original question.
Yeah.
About foods.
Yes.
Do you know which foods are less processed so they can maintain more of their bacteria and enzymes when you buy them? Or is the solution just going to local farms?
So, again, there's a million ways to rehab your gut. There's 1 or 2 or 3 ways that are probably optimal for you right now that work synergistically. There's maybe 6 things that I can recommend that I really strongly believe in. And I'll tell you what worked for me and why I think that worked and what my plan is relative to myself, and elaborate on that a bit, and that'll give, I think, the best explication, because I talk about it immediately. So, I believe that I have an enzyme issue, and I believe that this enzyme issue contributes a lot of the problems I have, and I believe this because after I had dysbiosis that I achieved through carnivore and the consumption of energy drinks, so it's really the consumption of energy drinks, and then it's also really like it's reducing fat intake on carnivore, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, I went into a maintenance mode of being, I was like, okay, I'll just do, like, carnivore just became like whatever. So then, because I was no longer chasing health, and eventually, and I was consuming the energy drinks, which I also did have dysbiosis because I had chronic diarrhea at the time, that just pushed me over the edge, and I developed full-blown, like, horrible dysbiosis, SIBO, probably had that before, but it got really, really bad. Couldn't digest anything, no enzyme production. I'd eat a blueberry and I'd poop a whole blueberry like 30 minutes later. It was like disturbing. Like, I'd eat like one blueberry, swallow a blueberry, then I'd poop the same blueberry 30 minutes later. Were you experiencing the same thing?
I had something similar about a month ago when I had really bad food poisoning. My gut completely collapsed. I made a couple videos talking about this, where it's like, I'm trying to maintain a somewhat positive attitude and not just go on my phone so that this pain goes away, because existence is really sucking right now.
It's really, really hard to fix your health problems, because when you have health problems, your body stops working, which means your brain stops working, which means that like 80% of the work is just convincing yourself that you shouldn't blow your brains out, or just do tons of drugs to numb yourself, or just scroll your phone and do nothing and become apathetic, and that you should actually try to fix it. And then it's also the fact that your brain doesn't work too, so you don't really know what's fixing it or what would work, and it's all very confusing. I remember like when I had that issue, I was pooping the whole blueberries. If I had that problem now, with my brain now, I could have fixed it in like
HCl and
yeah, like 3 months.
Enzymes.
3 months, I would have gone from like literally can't think and pooping 18 times a day battery acid, like my asshole was bloody. I would dab it was like bloody, and there's just battery acid. It hurt. Like every time I'd have to poop, I was like, no, again. It'd just be like more battery acid coming out of my raw sphincter, and it was horrible. And raw milk really helped. But if I knew what I knew now, like I had the...
My solution too was the sweet potato.
Honest to God, I'll just say this. I haven't even had any new ideas about health since that point in time 4 years ago, really.
You have?
No. I've just had my brain turn on more and more, such that I've been able to put them together. I've just actually put them together better. I haven't really had any new... once I started fixing it, once I turned on to the enzymes, I actually haven't had any new ideas.
The new idea is the connection between existing information. Like, that connection itself is the idea.
That's what I'm saying, though. But I'm saying
connect the information is an
But the reason I sought out the information is because I knew there was a connection. I just couldn't make that connection. Because to make the connection takes... So
what, you haven't been learning...
It takes faith.
You haven't learned any new information, but you've made a lot...
Yes, I made a lot of use. Exactly, I had a lot of new ideas. Exactly.
Okay. So same information, new ideas about how to interpret what that information means.
Let me put it this way. So the greatest improvement I've had in my brain function over the last year has been green tea. The greatest improvement I've had in my brain function over the last 2 years has been cyclic keto. Both of those things are things that I knew about since I was 14 years old, and I've been doing since I was 14 years old. These are completely not new information. So the fact that cyclic keto and green tea are the two greatest improvements to my brain function that I've had in the last 2 years, to me indicates the following. It indicates to me that I just simply have not had the mental function to sit down long enough to create the space and consciousness for my brain to change its default mode of being, which was dysfunctional. And then the cyclic keto allowed me to have enough faith. No, this actually I have to explain this because there's one last connection. The cyclic keto allowed me to have enough faith or enough brain function to intuit that the green tea could work. And the reason I didn't want to take green tea is because whenever I consume tea, but not coffee, on carnivore, I would just have like my gut would blow out, and I would just have like horrible joint cramp basically it triggered heavy
My
metal
suggestion
detox.
is I prefer a ratio of 3 parts tea to 1 part ginger root because I think it tastes better, and I put a little lemon wedge in that. And the ginger I find helps with the gut and also just
I'm letting him talk so he doesn't crash the car right now. He's very immature. But basically, I had to wean myself. If you're experiencing these issues on carnivore, you're like, I can't eat any food that isn't carnivore, but I also can't eat meat anymore. What do I do? That's iron overload due to the issues that I previously discussed that I'm not going to rehash because it's infinite. But it's the infinite regress, guys. So basically, one indication is on carnivore, can consume things slightly, but if you consume anything that has, look at just foods associated with detox in any way, and if those foods trigger you while you're on carnivore, more so than other foods that aren't specifically detoxing. You got to use your Sherlock brain for this because these articles aren't necessarily written by people who understand this stuff at a high level. But if you use your Sherlock brain, you'll be able to kind of figure out what's going on. Then, and that can be hard. You may have to test this. You may have to go watch some other videos that I or my brother or Joshua Mason or other people or Michaela Peterson have made. Then, after you've done that a little bit, you've kind of figured out a little bit more of what I'm talking about right now, drink very mild green tea. Like, just like figure out if there's a way you can make a very mild blend of green tea. It's very high quality, organic green tea, loose leaf gunpowder. I'll just say this, organic loose leaf gunpowder, nothing else. Not steeped in tea bags.
Herbs is
yeah, like Mountain Rose Herbs is what we use. I also use David's organic teas on Amazon, which has been working too. But basically, or Davidson's, I don't really know. But basically, that's what this is right now. But basically, there's a bunch of reasons why that's really good. The gunpowder, the packing, way it stores it. Tea bags are toxic. Don't use toxic steeping methods. Don't necessarily eat the tea leaves. Like, make sure the stuff you're steeping isn't like plastic or lead or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, use a stainless steel mesh.
Yeah, exactly. So then, basically, from there, you can use sun tea. You can get this and just put the tea leaves in there and then filter them out. Consuming the tea leaves can have...
Don't use a plastic kettle, too. That's
it's
stupid.
Really dumb. I actually started experiencing eye twitching immediately upon doing that when I was a freshman in college after my month of not sleeping. So, basically, though... Where was I? So, the green tea over time, like after like a week of consuming it and feeling like crap, this is again like what I mean. This is like the stuff I've done. And schedule an hour coaching session with me if you want to talk about it, or check out my other videos. I'll talk about it more in detail, like why I've done this. But I just got the points where I'm like, nothing I understand helps me. So I'm just willing to do things that are hurting me, and I think largely may just honestly end in hurting me, just to see if they help me, just because, like, fuck it. So carnivore was that the first go-around, because I'd already done keto and been burned by keto. And having been burned by keto, I was shy, and being shy, being burned by keto, I didn't want to do carnivore because I didn't want to have erectile dysfunction and pee blood again. But I talked myself into it because I was at a point where nothing that I was doing was helping my insomnia, and I was like, well, I've seen that the carnivore diet seems to help people who are dying and have nothing else that seems to save them. So I'll just do it for a month, and no matter how my body feels during the month, I did it with him too. These guys got some fucking balls doing that with me too, which is like fucking props. So he's been in this with me for a while. He can speak to a lot of it besides the insomnia. I think it's more sleep minerals because my brain's feeling a bit better, but I want more. But basically, blah, 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 blah. We did that together for a month. The other benefit of doing it with him is that I can monitor how he was reacting, so I could have another gauge. We were doing the same diet, basically, but I had insomnia and he didn't, so that was the control. So I'm like, okay, well, if I develop symptoms and you don't, you get better. You know what I mean? It just gives me another idea, because we both done veganism.
Wait, this is him finally admitting that he used me as a guinea pig.
I didn't use you as a guinea pig, dude, because we both done veganism earlier, and we both thought it was the best idea. The reason, though, but also, though, you could use me for in the same regard. And in some sense, I've been experimenting with diet longer than you. So I really viewed, you were already effed for veganism, so I was saving you by basically being willing to go back into the diet that had ruined my penis to fucking, like, you know what I mean? Like,
You're supposed to make this kid friendly.
Oh, whatever. I don't know. They have penises. They'll find out eventually. The next episode, we'll try to be more... It's health, guys. This is life. I don't know.
We're
At
talking about the F-bomb.
some point, it'll become kid friendly. Maybe I'll do my best. It is what I can either focus on being as open and informative as possible, or as kid friendly as possible. When we got the time, and we're not focusing on some.
We still rank higher than Coco Melon for helping our kids develop.
We're not going to make your kids transgender. So that is a bonus. I'm not going to make your children confused about what sex they are or have them hate you. So that kids, love your parents. They suffer more than you know for your happiness and joy. Give them hugs always. Okay. So basically, yeah, I just decided I was going to continue. And Jason was actually with me for that. He thought it was kind of nuts. But I was just like, I'm just going to keep drinking green tea until something happens. I think it'll be good. And my brain function kind of rehabilitated. My brain was really schizo at the time, and I would feel like I was having panic attacks coming on. That would then force me to feel like I needed to just eat food to keep the panic attacks at bay. And I was doing cyclic carnivore, but it just wasn't. I'm like, what's going on in my gut? And I figure I have like gut dysbiosis and heavy metals, and that like body's trying to detox this stuff through my gut, and it can't because of the dysbiosis. And that the main way you detox things is through enzyme stores and lactobacillus bacterium. So if you have dysbiosis, there's no lactobacillus bacterium to detox heavy metals through. So it's just this whole feedback loop. It's terrible. But green tea actually kills like almost all those feedback mechanisms, which is crazy. Like, look into it. There's 5 feedback mechanisms that happen when you try to detox heavy metals. There's the movement of the heavy metals out of your bones and or organ tissues into your bloodstream, the movement from the bloodstream to your urinary tract and or sweat to be excreted and or bowels. There's from there the bonding to something that keeps them in there, and then there's the prevention of reabsorption and also the prevention of absorption through the intestine while your body is trying to detox. Green tea does all 5 of those. It's the only thing I found that does that. Chlorella only serves to absorb it in the gut, which is why people experience reactions on chlorella. I experienced this where I just took chlorella and I went fucking nuts. And I was like, why? It's like, oh, well, my body is now able to move more heavy metals out of my gut than it's used to. So now it's like, okay, guys, rest of the body, pump some heavy metals into the gut. We got some space. And then all the places that had those heavy metals previously are like, wow, other body tissues, we have plenty of space too. And this all happens through my bloodstream, which means that the heavy metals get redistributed into my brain because there's nothing stopping that from happening. And that feels horrible. So I just started drinking insane amounts of green tea because I remembered some Chinese doctors said to drink green tea. When I was 15, I went to China, and then I was like, wait, China's super toxic and they're somehow alive. Maybe green tea's keeping them alive. Like thoughts like this, literally, this is how I've come up with this stuff. So, and then I go back and I justify it with science. This is why I say this stuff is documentary in purpose, and if you want to get specific recommendations for yourself, you should get some one-on-one coaching or look at my courses or something for more specifically relevant information. It's all validated scientifically, but it comes from these crazy connections that might be insane, they might be genius. I think they're genius, but maybe I'm crazy. Crazy people often think they're genius. It's not my responsibility to determine if I'm crazy or a genius or not. It's your responsibility to talk to your doctor. So if you end up effing yourself up, you say that it was because I told you to do something on this show. No, it wasn't. I'm probably insane. I've not slept for 2 months in my life, and if I try to really think about it and talk about it, I start to like have a mental breakdown, and it's happened many times on my YouTube channel. And I've had a diminishing mental breakdown response in proportion to how much I've helped people with this, which has kind of helped me cope with what I've been through. So if you want to like I think I'm sane, but I'm probably crazy, that's at least my defense. Talk to your doctor, whatever. So anyway, moving on. Yeah, I'm drinking the green tea, and the green tea is keeping the stuff out of my tissues and my brain, and it also has a bunch of other benefits that the Pedians on the Ray Pete forum talk about, including reducing gut serotonin, reducing the absorption of endotoxin from dysbiosis bacteria. Dysbiosis bacteria produce endotoxin. If you also have like yeast or mold issues, whatever, endotoxin. Blah, blah, blah. Promotes the use of fatty acids, which is great for metabolism. It has antioxidant properties. It helps move things through your gut, which is peristalsis. It just has all these benefits. So I just been drinking tons of green tea, and that seemed to like be keeping me together. If I stop drinking green tea, I get insomnia again. I think that last episode of Insomnia probably came from a whole bunch of factors, including reducing green tea consumption, because when I went to Vermont, I didn't bring any green tea, and I didn't sleep again until I came back and drank green tea and took chlorella while fasting, which I think allowed the whatever with toxins were in my body to move into my gut, and then that allowed my brain to calm down to the point where I could sleep, which allowed me to heal enough that this process could start to end. Holy cow, it's still ending. I have some photos of my poop.
We're going to go until the GoPro dies, and then we're going to film on one of the phones and put that on his channel. So, if I remember, there's going to be a link in the description, but you can always go check out his channel.
This is also going to be on my channel, too, so.
Maybe.
So, I'll link to his channel. This is going to be my channel, too.
Sure. Okay. Anyways, so we'll link to part 2 when the GoPro dies, but we're just going to go till we kill it. So, you talked about this earlier, the benefits of what I would consider milk, but you called that's pasteurized milk, not milk. Milk is a very specific thing. And
okay, so when the word milk was created, it described a certain thing. That word, and all other words that also meant milk, described a very specific thing. Oh, it dropped something. For all of human history, until some guy, Louis Pasteur, convinced everyone that they need to kill all the enzymes in their milk in order to not die from the plague. So I just call what he calls milk pasteurized milk, because that is what it is. And like milk as per mammals, like, okay, so a mammal is defined as a creature that subsists on its mother's milk. If we use that definition, then none of us are mammals, because the stuff that we consume from our mothers is not pasteurized. So if that's milk, then none of us are drinking milk, and we have to change the definition of mammal. So I just don't really want to change all the other definitions of words that rely on words not being changed into weird definitions because of a dude named Louis Pasteur. So I have more of the idea that people should make the compelling case to me that Louis Pasteur gets to define all definitions of biology and language.
Anyways, that's not the actual question. It was talking about the benefits of those enzymes in milk and how people might not actually be lactose intolerant, but only intolerant to, because the enzymes help digest.
Put it this way, so my youngest daughter, if we give her pasteurized milk, ends up developing incredibly painful poops and vomiting and screaming, and it's horrible. And if we don't give her milk, she doesn't really eat anything, and then she also has painful poops, and it's horrible. But if we give her unpasteurized normal milk, she's happy and fine and doesn't have painful poops. And it's actually, she goes so well, we forget that it was even an issue in the first place, even while we feed her tons of other foods. And then it's not until we run out of normal milk and we're like, oh, we'll just go get some organic pasteurized milk at the store, and we go get that, and then we give her that for like a week, and then she screams again, there's blood in her poop, she's constipated and vomiting. And then I'm like, oh, it's because I've been giving her pasteurized milk, which isn't milk, it's pasteurized milk, and it turns out all the stuff removed in the pasteurization process was important. That's my experience. It's also my experience that pasteurized milk made me feel horrible when I was rehabilitating my gut, and every time I've rehabilitated my gut, and unpasteurized milk makes me feel amazing and is crucial for rehabilitating my gut. So I don't even understand why people call the stuff they sell in the stores milk, because I think that that's like, okay, let me put it this way. Imagine I got to define sanity as being on a microdose of LSD that I had manufactured. And then I just got to go around saying that no one was sane who wasn't consuming LSD made by me. And you're like, wait, but isn't that the opposite of sanity? Taking drugs that random people are making you take in order to like participate in the world? That sounds really weird. And then I'd be like, no, this is sanity. Anyone who says otherwise is breaking the law. It's actually illegal to say that anything else is sanity. And if you go out in public, you say you're sane, you start talking to people about sanity, and you're not also mentioning taking LSD, that you're a nut job. Except LSD is actually good for your brain in a lot of ways, and ergotamine tartrate, which is currently the most commonly used treatment for Alzheimer's medically, is a derivative of LSD, whereas pasteurized milk is used as treatment for nothing. So I really don't understand why people have this convention, and I simply have arrived at the conclusion that people have accepted these things due to low metabolic rate. Their metabolisms aren't working, so neither are their brains, so they're just like, oh, it's milk, and milk's pasteurized.
Fair life is crap.
Ignoring the fact
Fairlife, ultra pasteurized milk with MSG, pretty sure it has MSG, and extra protein powder added to it.
Yeah.
Is literally crap. Do not drink that stuff.
Similac and stuff. You know what I mean? Like Similac instead of breast milk and stuff. Like all this stuff. It's actually nuts. And we just live. It's delusion. It's pure delusion. I mean, let me put it this way. So my wife supplemented breast milk from donors who gave her breast milk. You can go like her Facebook groups and get women to donate frozen breast milk they're just not using because they overproduce. We've received breast milk from women who eat lots of steak, and we've received breast milk from women who don't eat any steak. We've received breast milk from vegans. And what I can tell you is that when we gave my daughters the breast milk from vegans, they were just always hungry. They were never satisfied. It was literally like we didn't even feed them. It was crazy, I think. And then when we gave them breast milk from, there's one personal friend who gave us breast milk, and she had a very meat-heavy diet, and so their kids are always very satisfied when they get breast milk first. So we were always like, woo! Because we know they'd sleep really great. But we gave them vegan breast milk, they wouldn't sleep at all because there's no nutrients in it. And then we actually started picking out breast milk donors based on meat consumption. We would interview them about meat consumption. Fun fact though, we could not find any breast milk donors who were not on psychiatric medications. Pretty much all women in our society that we have talked to, my wife and I, are on psychiatric medications. Crazy, right? It's almost like everyone in society is eating poison that makes their brains not work. Be weird, right? Be weird if you were taking milk and removing all the enzymes and probiotics from it and then calling it milk, forgetting the fact that those enzymes and probiotics are the very thing that keeps our body alive. And then we look around and say, everyone's eating healthy, why are they dying? It's not like we're literally putting MSG and titanium dioxide and bromide and cellulose powder derived from GMO soy and like all this stuff in the food and then pasteurizing all of it so there's no enzymes. It's not like we could be doing that. It's not like the soil quality is shit because we've been using artificial fertilizers with no nutrients in them for 80 years. It couldn't be that. It couldn't be the fact that when people have problems with their health, we tell them to take drugs instead of looking at their diet, which is how I was somehow able to charge thousands of dollars for health coaching to people who had insomnia, because they literally would go to 10 doctors and not a single doctor would ask them why they're consuming hundreds of milligrams of caffeine per day from energy drinks without balancing their macronutrients, supplementing magnesium, zinc, and other electrolytes, and I don't know, regulating their caffeine consumption in any way or even mentioning it. I'd ask them, did your doctor even ask you if you consume caffeine? No. It was crazy. I'd have so many, this is my most profitable clients. It was amazing. It's the best. It's the best ones. Literally, they would buy coaching. They come on. They'd be like, I can't sleep, and they'd be like, I've been to a few doctors. And I'd be like, that's crazy. So I just give them my questionnaire and I take them through my process where I interview them about everything that they've been eating, drinking, consuming in any way for the past 6 months, 2 weeks, more in detail. I get more in detail as we get closer, and I go out to all the way what their parents ate, parents' health issues, grandparents' health issues, siblings' health issues, what they ate throughout childhood, health issues in childhood, how they responded to that, all this stuff. I go through all these things, and then just stuff emerges, and it's just it'd be like sometimes it's so fast. It's just I just went on a high protein diet, and I felt low energy, so I started consuming tons of coffee, and I can't sleep. And I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, I just only eat chicken breasts and drink coffee. Okay, well, just I wouldn't yell at them ever. But in my head, and they've been to doctors. And the doctors told them to take more fiber. So they were taking a fiber supplement, so now they're constipated too. Which is causing dysbiosis, so they're bloated. And it's just and I'm just because they're oh, it's good, you're consuming no fat. Make sure your sodium's low and get plenty of fiber. Actually killing people through ignorance. So, God was right when he said, and I think Isaiah, or maybe Isaiah, oh no, maybe Hosea, people suffer for lack of knowledge. And people perish for lack of knowledge. And he also says for lack of vision that people perish in Proverbs. But anyway, so my vision is of a people and company and society of people in New Hampshire that all live super healthy and train jiu-jitsu and profit through selling sleep minerals And you could work for me if you apply and you're talented. We're always taking on talented people. So if you're very talented and ambitious, there's always a place for you. So, blah, 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 blah. That's my vision. But anyway, but my knowledge is that people should not do that because it's dumb. So I would just tell them, I'd be like, hey, look, so you need either carbohydrates or fat for energy, and you need sodium for your brain to function. And since you've been consuming neither, that's why you're experiencing what you've been experiencing. In addition, the caffeine you've been consuming in large quantities has been depleting your electrolytes, which is why you've been cramping. And the alcohol you started drinking 3 weeks ago has just been making the entire problem worse. And they'll be like, well, what should I do? And I just take them through a program of gut rehabilitation and things based off of what their personal intolerances were, what their sensitivities were, what foods they felt like. Just, it's very individual. One man's food's another man's poison. So if you want individual advice, I have plenty of videos where I give individual advice on my channel. Go look at all of those. Right now, I'm just introducing you to principles. So basically, so those are my best clients, for people who just, again, they just encountered these doctors who had no idea what they were talking about. And as a result of encountering them, they would...
What do you mean by best clients?
I mean in terms of, okay, not the best clients in terms of like, I mean in terms of like, there were, so I rank clients, so as a business owner and person who only has 24 hours in a day like all the rest of you, I have to prioritize things, of which I constantly apply the 80-20 principle. So I've released the courses I've released, which are available on the website, because there are plenty of people who... That's all they need. All they need is just go through me talking about this stuff. And then they're like, oh, wait, I'm eating only chicken breasts, drinking caffeine, and drinking wine to fall asleep. No wonder I am dying. And then they realize that, and they just start eating like 8 sweet potatoes a day and do nothing different. And then they feel amazing. And they're like, they send me these messages, and they're just like, you saved my life. I switched this one thing, and I feel great. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's what I mean. Like, it's like the best thing, because it's like to me that's the 80-20 principle in effect. It's like it took them very little time to stop dying through one video that shared one piece of information. And that's why I like to go so esoteric as much as I can within a topic, because all these little things I say help various people, and then they hit me up years later after I release the video and they say, oh my god, this saved my life, because I mentioned this one little detail about like salt for brain function, or like, here's one, you need zinc in order to regulate all of your mineral balances, but if you consume too much zinc, it dysregulates copper, which will cause all the same symptoms as too little zinc.
But you know what has proper amounts of zinc?
Sleep minerals. Okay, but like, but basically though, like, if that doesn't make any sense to you, that's fine, but like the one person out there who's been like losing their mind because all the zinc supplements out there have either 50 milligrams of zinc, or like, just there's a bunch of issues, or the zinc has like magnesium stearate in the supplement. Like, if these are the issues that you're experiencing, and I mention this stuff, you've been thinking about it so much that this one little detail, it'll click, and then you'll be like, oh my god. And I talk to these people, that's what I mean, they're my best clients, and that they pay me $100, or back in when I used to charge $100, I charge more now, but back when I charged $100, they would pay me $100, they get on the phone with me, and Zoom, and I would just go through this whole thing. I take it through the whole process. I take everyone through the whole process because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. And I just take it through the whole process, and I just talk to them, and I just be like, okay, look, so I'm going to be real with you. This is your lucky day. There's something really simple going on I think that you could just fix. It's really obvious. I've experienced the same thing. There's tons of people I know who've experienced this. It's just so basic. You're only eating chicken breasts, and you drink coffee for energy, and you don't drink any salt, and now you're taking tons of fiber grains, making you constipated. Just eat a bunch of sweet potatoes and take salt, and then drink spring water, and you'll literally feel amazing. And then they just do that, and then they just feel amazing, and then they just leave me like a glowing review. Like, you go find like reviews on like my like website. There's a few people, like, it's all the people who have left me reviews. Funny enough, everyone has left me a review. It's one of those people. So, and they're just like, oh my god, Devin is like the smartest person ever. And then there's my other clients who have this is, I think, really, this is why I release the courses and stuff, because there's certain people out there who have like really severe problems. Like, they're just dying. Like, they need $20,000 a month in funds, and like one-on-one 24/7 help to make a speedy recovery. And they're expecting that I'm going to tell them what supplements to take to fix this. They're not even willing to cap their own supplements. Like, they're just like, tell me what I can buy to fix it. And I'll be like, go buy raw liver and eat raw liver. And they're like, I don't like doing that. I'm just going to end the conversation there. Those are my worst clients, because not only are they, so the guy, at least the guy who eats only chicken breasts and drinks tons of coffee, has the intelligence, the courage, and the discipline to recognize that there's a problem that needs a dramatic solution, to do that dramatic solution, to stick to it, and then to problem solve when that solution doesn't work without giving up hope. Because what would happen is I'd tell them exactly what to do. And like, I was so naive when I first started this out. It was so terrible. There's like one or two clients I have in mind, and I won't say their names, but it's just like, I had to rethink my whole business model based on these people, and God bless them. But it was ultimately my fault, because I made myself too available, and I made it seem as though the problem was that they just needed more coaching, because what the issue was that they didn't understand the basics. So then I told them this is great, I'm glad we're getting into this. I told them the basics, and then I told them what to do, and they didn't remember any of the basics. And then they kind of did what I told them to do, like half. They did like 50% of it. And then it kind of worked. No, straight. And it kind of worked. And then when it didn't completely work the first time 100% the first week straight with no problems, they freaked out, gave up, and then binged on every unhealthy thing that created the issue, and then told me that my advice didn't work. And I, in my silly, naive compassion, was just like, these poor suffering people who have insomnia, whose brains simply don't work. I know what it's like to be stressed. I know what it's like to deflect. I know what it's like to blame people. Do not worry, I am here to help you. I'll talk you through this. And I did that for a year and a half, and it drained all the energy, and I did not even help them at all. They would I would create new sections of biochemistry that I've outlined in my courses that are available on my website, that I would do with like crazy. I would work myself to death to save their life, to create information and ideas that didn't exist, that would work for them so well in the beginning that when they ran into a hiccup, a single hiccup, they would be like, oh my God, it's proof it doesn't work. And then they go binge on sleep drugs that didn't even work, take tons of hormones that didn't even work, and then they complain to me that they had done...
Not only didn't even work,
actually created the problem and would set the entire healing process back weeks and months. And then they would complain to me and be like, oh my God, Devin, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did this. And I'd be like, no, I understand. And I did this for like a year now. I like abused myself. But the issue was, this is the issue, is that I was dealing with mentally ill people, because they're not sleeping, they're mentally ill. It's really not their fault. They're people who are drowning. I learned this in Boy Scout camp. When I got lifeguard certified, we'll drag you down with them every time. It is not their fault. It's not their fault. I'm emphatic about this. It is not their fault. It is my fault for how I constructed the thing. And that's why I do it differently now. Now I have courses that are very affordable online. They do not cost thousands of dollars for coaching. Because again, I would charge these people thousands and thousands of dollars, like $5,000. So they give me $5,000. I'm like,
time's worth to make
and now I'm like, this was how bad it was. They would give me $5,000 for 3 months of coaching, which I don't even do anymore. I charge way more than that now. They give me $5,000 for 3 months of coaching. And I would coach these people. I coached this one person for a year and a half without receiving even full payment. She paid me half without even full payment, because I just wanted to help her so bad, because I have PTSD. I've come to terms with this. I have to come to terms with this. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I could not, when she would text me that she couldn't sleep, it took me a year and a half to realize this. In my body, I would feel as though like that was like 16-year-old Devin going into his first month of never sleeping, and that I had to like protect his like soul from like the despair that I experienced. And even right now, I'm like, the emotions come up again. So she would stop sleeping. She would not be sleeping. And I would immediately drop everything to spend a week researching every single thing I possibly could and combing over everything to create not just something that would work, that over 3 months would rehabilitate her sleep, which my program is that if you take my courses and you have insomnia, if you just do that religiously and you study that stuff and you look in all this stuff, you consult with your doctor, in like 3 months it'll be gone. Or in 3 months it'll be so gone that you'll be thrilled and you'll be happy to continue to apply these principles for the rest of a year, 2 years, however long it takes to heal. It could take a while. It took me years to heal the first time. So no, I wouldn't do that. I would sit down for a week straight and I would predict every single biochemical change and anticipate every single complication that could possibly happen as a result of the things that I told her. And I would say it wasn't enough to say, oh, just like, and this is how delusional I was. Because even now, this last month I had insomnia. I couldn't even produce for myself the results I produced for this woman. Because my brain didn't work well enough for me to think that way while I wasn't sleeping. But I produced for this woman results that I could not even produce for myself. Even still, a month and a half later, I'm still rehabbing myself from that insomnia episode. I would get it so that within a week, she'd be sleeping 8 hours a night, or at least sleeping like 6 hours a night, which I could not even produce it myself. And then she'd run like one night of no sleep, which is, wait, I have to finish this, which is normal. And it was just ongoing. So now, but it's my fault though. And I want to end this segment on why it was my fault. Because I never shared with my clients in the beginning the basics. I was cocky. I was so good at health coaching that I was like, tell me your problem and I'll just tell you what to do. It takes me 3 hours. I've done it for years. I'm the best in the world. And I could do that. But because I never taught people the basics, once they had to rely on themselves, they couldn't. And then they would come to me and then they'd start blaming me for the fact that what I immediately told them didn't like make them a millionaire in a month or something. Like, it was just crazy. It was like literally crazy. Like, I remember people telling me, like literally I had like one of my first clients telling me, Devin, you fixed 90% of my health problems that have been chronic for 9 years. And I've been to many doctors and I've spent thousands on chiropractors to fix these things. You fixed 90% of these problems in 3 months, Devin. But I still have phlegm in the back of my throat sometimes. So I'm kind of irritated, man. Why do I have phlegm in the back of my throat? Can you like give me a solution? This other guy's telling me that you're an idiot and that I should just go with his program because blah, blah, blah. And then years later, he goes with his program. Years later, he hits me up, Devin, thank you so much. You were a real friend to me. I'm so glad you got me on my carnivore diet and made me stick with it. It really helped me out. I wish I'd stuck with it. I'm just like, it's crazy. It's like, I literally, this is what I mean. So I did the webinar. Go check out the webinar. On the webinar, I could charge millions for this information. Eventually, I will charge millions for this information. But I gave it away so cheap that they didn't value it. So now, I won't health coach you if you haven't bought my course and taken my course yet. You want to buy my health coach? You want to pay me thousands of dollars to health coach you? No way. You can pay me $500 an hour for 1 hour. I'll take you through the whole process. I'll give you some emails. I'll give you the questionnaire. I'll take you through the whole interview. I'll give you a follow-up if it's necessary. It's $500. If that goes well, get another one. If that goes well, get another one. And then eventually you convince me why I should coach you one-on-one, because it's a pain in my butt because people don't value this stuff. And if I dole it out one at a time, then it's like people are like, oh my God, Devin, I was peeing blood and what you told me stopped me from peeing blood, but my penis still doesn't work. Can you tell me how to fix my hormones? And I tell them one thing and they come back a month later, they're like, Devin, that basically fixed everything except for this one issue. And then like, but it's because they value it instead of me being like, you know what I mean? It's just the way it goes. So now I give my courses out. You take my course? Okay. You taking the course. Did that help you? If that didn't help you at all, then you probably shouldn't get coaching from me because I'm not your guy. If that helped you and you want it by an hour, few hours of my time, it's really a few hours because I go over the questionnaire. It's a whole few hours behind the scenes. So it's really like, I charge $100 an hour. And if you're abusing that, I stop that. That's a courtesy. I really charge $1,000 an hour because I have to be very, very deliberate in order to run this company, run my family, keep my health in check. It's really hard. Really hard. I had insomnia this month because I worked myself to death. It's $1,000 an hour, like on a routine basis. But ultimately, I provide $500 an hour with support as a courtesy to people who I deem as motivated people I think will use the information. If people have like financial issues, I have been known to charge them less. I hate even saying that because people will try to abuse that and be like, I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor. And then I'll be like, okay, well, buy my program. It's like cheap. And then they're like, so it's whatever. I don't know. But again, I run my company the way I run my company now because I have empathy for people and I want to help the most people. And it's really from empathy because that year and a half that I was coaching, that one person and then like 24 other people that I helped like that, and then this one person, I could not help probably 24 more people. I probably would have been twice as productive if I had dropped that one client, or if I had properly run my own business. You know what I mean? Not even her fault. If I had properly run my own business, I gave her the program first, then I did the 1 hour, and then she got the coaching first. She wouldn't even need it. She would have taken my information to heart, and she would have rehabilitated herself like you can have watched me do over the last month. I did the same stuff, and it worked less well for me than it worked for her because I gave her more attention than I gave myself because I